Hey, you made it to part C of exercise number 1 in chapter 10, the algebra of quadratics, lesson 5 on the quadratic formula. Again, if you're not in the right place, you might want to go back to my YouTube channel and make sure that you clicked on the right video. But today, right now, I'm going to teach you how to solve the quadratic formula or using the quadratic formula in parts C and D. So taking a look at part C first, we want to first make sure our equations equal to 0. So we're going to have to move a couple things over to the left side of the equation to make sure that our entire equation equals 0 over here. So let's choose blue to write in. And once we have our nice color picked, we can now look at this and say, let's move that x squared first. Now we're going to subtract x squared and we'll be left with 2x squared. Bring down our 9x is equal to negative 7. Make sure you bring the sign down of that 7 also, which is negative. And now we want to move that negative 7 over to the other side, and we'll do that by adding it. Now there are no like terms to combine on the left side, so it's going to be just a quadratic in standard form, and you should keep all your terms separate like here. Now that we have a quadratic in standard form, we could go ahead and list out what our A, our B, and our C terms are, so it's helpful for us when we substitute them into the quadratic formula. Our A term is going to be 2, our B term is going to be 9, and our C term is going to be 7. And if you have questions on how to get the A, B, and C term, please refer to the last two videos on parts A and B. Now that we know our A, B, and C term, we're going to use the quadratic formula, which is x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a. Now, we're going to substitute in our a, b, and c values that we found up here. And we have negative b, which is negative 9, square root of b squared, so 9 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is 7, all divided by 2 times a, which is 2. Okay, so now we're going to simplify this a little bit. We'll keep that negative. Ooh, I forgot that plus or minus up there. That's very important. Otherwise, that reads as negative 9 times the square root. We want to make sure we have negative 9 plus or minus the square root, as it says in the formula. Very different. Okay, so always be careful with making sure all of your work is correct. Okay, so now that all of my work is correct, we could continue on. We have negative 9 plus or minus the square root. And let's simplify this whole thing. We have 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 7 is 56. 9 squared is 81. So 81 minus 56 is going to give me 25. And I'm going to have that all divided by 2 times 2, which is 4. I'm going to bring my work up here and continue on over here. I'm going to have x is equal to negative 9 plus or minus, I know the square root of 25 is 5. Because 5 times 5 will give me 25 divided by 4. And the last thing I could do is I could simplify each part of this solution. I could start off by seeing what negative 9 minus 5 is. And that's going to be negative 14 divided by 4, which is going to give me negative 3.5. And I'm going to have negative 9 plus 5, which is negative 4, divided by 4, which will give me a solution of negative 1. So your two solutions for this equation are negative 3.5 and negative 1. And now finally for part D over here, we have 5x squared plus 9x plus 4 equals 0. And if you're looking at that one's already set equal to 0. So that does make our life a little bit easier. And so we could start off right away by listing out our A, our B, and our C values. Our A value is 5, our B value is 9, and our C value is 4. Now we need our quadratic formula, so we're going to recopy our x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2 times a. Okay, now substitution. We have x equals negative, what's b? 9, there we go, plus or minus the square root of 9 squared minus 4 times a, which is 5, times c, and that's 4, all divided by 2 times a, which is 5 again. So now simplifying it, I'm going to have negative 9 plus or minus the square root. And 4 times 5 gives me 20. 20 times 4 is 80. 9 squared is 81, so the square root is 81 minus 80. So that will give me the square root of 1. And divided by 10. Now we should know that the square root of 1, it is a perfect square. So it's going to be 1 because 1 times 1 will be 1. So 1 is the square root of 1. And we have negative 9 plus or minus 1 divided by 10. Last thing that we want to do, we'll go right up over here. And our last step is just to simplify this into our 2 exact zeros. So we'll start off by going negative 9 minus 1, that's negative 10, divided by 10 is negative 1. And negative 9 plus 1 is negative 8, divided by 10, and that's going to be negative 4/5. Or if you did negative 0.8 or 8/10, that would be fine as well, whichever you prefer, a decimal or a fraction. Sometimes I think decimals are easier, sometimes I think fractions. So you should get used to using both because they both come in handy. So again, this was exercise number 1 in lesson 5. And if you want to continue on to exercise 2 at this point, you could click the link that's displayed on the screen right now. Otherwise, you could go back in this video and see anywhere that you had trouble with and see if I can answer any questions in this video. Again, if you liked this video, if it was helpful, please click the thumbs up. Otherwise, comment below and tell me what you need me to do better to help you out. All right, till next time.